Thank you, David. It is such a fun song to sing, and I am so grateful to be here. I've been through a journey. As many of you know, I hurt my back a week ago Wednesday and had that challenge, that once again curriculum of, can't you learn how to pick things up properly? Well, I'm learning, and I certainly had another certificate program. And it's so in line with this beatitude that we are going to be addressing today. So the title, the Beatitudes, Blessed by Challenge. Now you might say, I don't know about that. I kind of think I'm blessed by bliss. I'm blessed when everything's going right. I'm blessed by being satisfied, being renewed, and fully healed. All that is true, but there's something about challenge that enriches our life. So let's turn to the Bible. This is from the New Revised Standard Version. Let's drop everything. Look at those knees bend. Oh, good stuff, Gary. Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Now that's pretty easy to get some meaning to that. It's pretty straightforward. And yet, what we're doing in this series is we're going back and we're looking at the Aramaic as well. And Aramaic has multiple layers of meaning to it. And this word for mourn is any emotion of depth of feeling. And certainly when we're in mourning, we're in depth grief. We might be in anger. We're in a lot of feeling. But we could change mourn to be challenge, difficulty, turmoil. Now, if that's true, blessed are those who are in challenge, for they will be comforted. Now, what's the comfort? The comfort is the all-encompassing presence of God. That rich light that we become ever more aware of as we continue on our spiritual journey. And there's nothing that God's unconditional love will not address, because God is unchanging. God is always present. And this is why our journey is blessed when we're in challenge. Now, I've been using the wisdom of the wonderful Emmett Fox, his book, The Sermon on the Mount. And in it, he says, most people will not undertake the search for God wholeheartedly unless driven thereto by trouble of some kind. Now, why is that? I think because when we're on this human journey, we find we're distracted by the stuff, by the material stuff, by the inbred judgments and beliefs that are separate from the God presence that's always present. And this is why, for me, when I'm feeling so good, everything's fallen into place. And I'm feeling satisfied and really joy-filled. Now, in that moment, do you think there's any part of me that's looking to change? No way. I want it all right now. I want God to this is it, and the rest of my life is just joy-filled, enlightened. It doesn't happen that way. We can just go to the counter and go, good day. It is when challenge happens that we might even be willing to open ourselves to God, even a crack. And believe me, all you need to give God is a little permission, and God is present. Now, with this back injury, I had all kinds of thoughts. Some of the thoughts included, why don't you just shoot me? Because when the pain's peaking at 8.5, I couldn't see anything else. And certainly, another thought was, I'm a unity minister. I should be on all of this crap. Doesn't work that way either, because what I've proven to you over and over and over again is this Gary is very human. And I make mistakes as well as make right decisions. Because like you, I'm on this journey and I'm no farther along than anybody else. But I'm glad to be on it with you. Now I turn to this wisdom. This writer, Jennifer Kennedy Dean, says, to be filled, we must be emptied. The person who admits that she is destitute in spirit is willing to empty herself of everything that she once trusted or anything she ever prized because she thought it made her valuable. Now, if we get this on a deep level, we realize that we're the ones that separate ourselves from God's unconditional love that's always present. And if we're attached, I've never been attached to cars. I mean, I love having, most important thing for a car is that it works. But I have friends who are so attached to their car that it's almost like a part of them. So if you say, oh, I just love your car, they're like, oh, thank you. Like somehow that has boosted them up. And that's a red flag. Because if we're looking to anything outside of us to lift us up, to make us feel like we have value and substance, then we're probably going to be very open to a great big challenge that's going to shake that, because anything out there is temporary. Anything out there is not permanent. And there's only one thing permanent in the universe, and that's God, unchanging, ever present. And the tricky part of this is that if God's everywhere present, then why not show yourself? Why not, be it? It's this little thing where God says, you are free. This is our month of will, the power of will. We have free will. We can choose and do whatever we want, and God's going to love us through our process. But if we turn to God and ask God for assistance, for help, for guidance, for healing, for renewal, does God say no? No. God always says yes. But what happens if your glass is totally full. How much space do you have for God? Well, I'm so busy. There's enough on my plate right now. I've got plenty of responsibilities. I've got things to do to last me for the rest of the year. Ever feel like that? Ever feel like you're just a little too full? And how much can you pour into a glass that's already full? Nothing. And this is the wisdom of Jennifer here. To be filled, we must be empty. So if everything in our glass isn't God, and we want God, what do we need to do? We need to empty our glass. We need to give a little space. And this is why we're blessed by challenge. Because it's the very diagnoses, the back pain, the broken relationship, the trouble with the kids, whatever it is, it wakes us up to the possibility that the one who really has the tools to bring forth the healing, the renewal, the fix, the therapy, is God. And when we actually allow a little space for God to be within us, God will take it. God will take any space we're willing to give it. So there's a lot of wisdom in this, that if we feel like we are destitute of spirit, I don't know where God is in my life. If we get to those places, and believe me, we get to those places, we have to be willing to look at, where am I holding on? What stuff am I holding on that's keeping me from opening myself and just emptying out the glass? It isn't always easy, but it's very rewarding when we can do it. Turning back to Emmett Fox, he says here, nevertheless, trouble and suffering are often extremely useful, because many people will not bother to learn the truth until driven to do so by sorrow and failure. Change is the constant, but we won't change unless there's something that stimulates us to do it differently. Okay, maybe if I just pray and meditate every day like I hear that's a good idea, maybe it'll help. And so we try it. And lo and behold, we find, wow, that helps. I truly am better off practicing these principles than not. And we forget, and I think part of the reason that we forget to remember to allow God first to be our source is that we're a little addicted to forgetting and then remembering again. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep doing it. And I'm not exempted from this. But boy, I'm so grateful when I stop. And this back experience, this my recent little issue with I'm in trouble, brought me to a place where I had to ask for help. That's a new one. And asking Linda to talk last weekend sourced and gave me such inspiration. Linda, you did a great job. And I had enough foresight to ask her the day after I hurt my back, do you think you might be willing to do the talk on Sunday? I'm not quite ready to let go of it, but you better get a talk ready. And she said, sure. Thank you for giving me some advance warning. Rather than the Sunday night call, I'm not going to be there, but you are. Because no matter what happens, we don't know from day to day, from moment to moment, what our actions, what our doing, what our being is going to have the effect on everything else. This is why these amazing teachings that Master Teacher Jesus brought forth so many thousands of years ago on a mountain or in a meadow, depending on what gospel you read. But these teachings are profound. And we've only looked at the first two. And this is why we continue to look at those teachings. Because when we can have tools to live our life today by what Jesus taught oh so long ago, that means it's a good teacher. And the profound teaching of the Beatitudes is foundational to Christianity. So I'm still excited about this journey through the Beatitudes. And so as we wrap up this talk, again, I turn to the Aramaic scholar, Neil Douglas Klotz, and he's offers a new translation of this beatitude. And he says, blessed are those in emotional turmoil. They shall be united inside by love. I think this helps lift the knowledge behind this wonderful beatitude. To remember that whenever we're in distress, sadness, disappointment, fear, anger, pain, strife, grief, all we need do is remember that God is right there in the midst of our pain, bringing us exactly what we need. A little breath, a little peace, a little hope, and a whole lot of love. And that's worth remembering. So let's take this into our meditation and allow this teaching to inform us so that when we are in pain, we can say, thank you, God. breathe. And with each breath, we relax a little more. We let go of anything that's happened before this now moment. And we temporarily release anything that's to be later today. Breathing into this moment, we center in. Now, we may not be facing a challenge personally, or we may be facing challenge personally, but we are all facing a global challenge. And so this is a good opportunity to be blessed by challenge and open our heart space, open our center to God. And therein we can ask God, guide me, nurture me, restore me. For I know that at the heart of this time is an opportunity for me to reach out and share my love, your love, through my hands, through my mind, through my lips, through what I write. Let me be a conduit of your love in this challenging time. As a true student, I open myself to sacred service. I open myself to the grace of God that knows before me the best and the highest good for me, for this unity community, for this South Central Texas. We know that change is the constant. But we know that God never changes within us. Always available, always ready. And to be filled, we must be emptied. And so let's imagine that all of the stuff, all of the busyness of life, all the things we do is just a glass full of water. And for right now, we pour out the glass. Because all that stuff will wait for us. But right now, we want to sit in the peace and love of God as we now enter a time of the silence. Dear God, we are so grateful for ever increasing awareness of this, your peace and love within us. We're grateful that your countenance and your willingness to allow us to fill our cup with whatever we want. We can put anything in the glass we want, and we can empty the glass anytime we want. So let's take this newfound teaching, whatever awareness we've achieved in this meditation, and allow it to guide us through our day so that we can find light where there's darkness, where we can find pardon where there's unforgiveness, where we can stand in love when someone's feeling hatred. We are unity, and with unity we know there is only one presence, one power, God, and we choose to align with the one power that is. That's why we're unity, because unity means one. And so let's be with gratitude and come forth with our awareness back into this room, ready to take on the day. And when we're ready, we open our eyes. And then together, we'll say this affirmation that goes with today's talk. Together, I am comforted by the living, loving presence of God within. I am comforted by the living, loving presence of God within. And one more time. I am comforted by the living, loving presence of God within. And with that, we are blessed.
Step out on the water, release your faith. Every step is stronger. Step out on the water.